All right, so we're back po, no? For reminder lang po, for those who are asking for the video recordings ng ating day 1 ng ating webinar, so it is already uploaded po sa aming official Facebook page since this webinar is also broadcasted via Facebook Live. Pwede nyo pong makita yung replay doon sa aming official Facebook page. So doon nyo po pwede ma-access yung recording for the day 1. And again, we would like to remind our participants in our Zoom room, you don't need to fill out any attendance form po since there's an automatic attendance generated sa ating Zoom. And for the participants naman sa ating FB Live, you need to accomplish yung daily attendance. At yun yung magiging basis ng inyong participation sa ating webinar. All right, so right now po, we are going to introduce to you our second resource speaker. So allow me first basahin ang kanyang short bio po. Yan. So for our session 4 po, the topic will be the Security Operations Center of Security Breach Identification, Prevention, Detection, Response, Recovery, and Investigation. So our resource speaker for the session 4 is a graduate, is an ICT advocate and currently serves in the Philippine government as an information technology officer in the Data Security and Technology Standards Division of the National Privacy Commission, with the mandate of upholding the rights to privacy and protecting the personal information of Philippine citizenry. In NPC, core of his work include the development of ISO standards in identity management and privacy technology through the Bureau of the Philippine Standards, or BPS, as a co-editor for work project that can potentially emerge as an international ISO standards. Our next resource speaker for today, Mr. Jansen Esguera. Sir, good morning po.
Hi, good morning po. I'm happy to be here. So, permission to share my screen po.
Yep. Visible na po, sir.
So, thank you for confirming, sir. So, thank you for the introduction. So, today is June 3. So, my topic will be on Security Operations Center of Security Breach Identification, Prevention, Detection, Recovery, and Investigation. So, napakahaba po ng topic ko, no? So I know I'm the only man standing against against lunch, no? Our lunch break. So, okay po ba? Isihan lang natin to. So, yun. So, as introduction, so today is June 3. This marks the official ICT month. So, as our Secretary Honasan has said, connect the government to other governments, domestic and global, government to business, government to citizens, and everybody to each other. We must do this faster, cheaper, if not free, in a more secure manner. So, since I'll be talking about Security Operations Center, and of course, we all know since last year, nung nagkaroon tayo ng pandemic, the role of ICT has been ever more important. So what our boss has also said, Commissioner Liboro, the NPC supports the successful use of digital technologies and the processing of personal data. So this is also embedded in our declaration of policy in the Data Privacy Act. The role of ICT is important to promote innovation and growth. So it's important to protect the information in these systems to reach these objectives. So in our previous session, Attorney Amor has shared very juicy topics. So I hope you have learned a lot, because I have learned a lot as well. And continue to learn even though I'm her office mate. So the last topic for today, as I've read a while ago, so this does not prescribe what a security operation center is. Of course, the NPC defers to the Department of Information and Communications Technology, and they also house the Cybersecurity Bureau is also institutionalized in the DICT. So I am confident that they will have another topic regarding dedicated to Security Operations Center. So this topic will be more on delineating Security Operations Center, data breaches, security incidents, and what are the underlying principles of it. So I divided our outline for our last topic into 4 major sections. So first section is about overview. What are CERTs? What are CCERTs? What is a SOC? Second is capacity building. So about security operations. And third, of course, we have a featured standard to have an overview of, which discusses principles of incident management. And of course, last section will be focusing on legal basis or relevant policies of the government relating to Security Operations Center. So CERT versus CCERT versus SOC. What's the difference? CERT, by definition, is a mnemonic or an acronym which stands for Computer Emergency Response Team. So Computer Emergency Response Team refers to an organization, or a team rather, that studies computer incident or network security in order to provide incident response services to victims of attacks, publish alerts concerning vulnerabilities and threats, and of course to offer information to help improve computer and network security. So that's a CERT. How about what's a CCERT? So presently, these two terms are used interchangeably. So CCERT is an acronym for Computer Security Incident Response Team. So the CCERT relies on a more of a, or suggests to work and collaborate and coordinate to a cross-functional team. So it can work with HR, it can work with legal, it can work with the comms department, with the finance department, depending on the security incident that's involved. And finally, what is a SOC, or a Security Operations Center? A Security Operations Center is yung mismong facility. So, pag sinabing 'di ba, pag may ang naisip ko lang analogy diyan, house versus yung home, di ba? Yung house, yung mismong physical structure. But yung home, mismo yung mga tao na nakatira doon sa bahay, yun yung family. So naisip ko is the SOC is the house itself, and the home is the CERT, or the Computer Emergency Response Team, because they are the people who manage and use the tools for monitoring, analyzing the organization security posture in order to detect, analyze, and respond to cybersecurity incidents using, of course, a combination of process, tools, technology, and of course, with other incident response teams in a cross-functional team. So I have selected in our second section, or second topic, to discuss security operations. I selected CISSP. This is the gold standard for information security professionals. So if you're aiming to have a career in information security or cybersecurity, then CISSP is one of the gold standards out there. So, but of course, we'll not be discussing all of the CISSP. So we'll be focusing only on the domain 7. CISSP has multiple domains. So domain 7 only focuses on security operations, which is the focal point of this session. So security operations, we have in the domain 7 of the CISSP, we have multiple chapters there. So of course, we go to the first chapter before all of the prerequisites happen. We should first understand and support investigation. In order to do this, we must, or the organization should have first an incident response and policy strategy. So this provides the organizational basis or the legal basis on how to go about the investigation or the response to security incidents. So it must be properly documented so that when investigation of security incidents occur, we are able to ensure the integrity of the evidence and the usability to close the case or the incident. So, for example, if we do not have any proper guideline or process to respond to security incidents, for example, if a malware has penetrated your computer networks in the organization, or if a hacker has able to circumvent your security measures and able to navigate in your computer network, so you must be able to set rules. Or if are you going to restart your computers, how will you gather evidence? Will you turn off the PC? Of course, doing so will of course, some forensic evidence, digital forensics evidence, reside in the random access memory. So once restarted, it can be gone. So how do you go about it? Do you just leave it open? You just disconnect the suspected device from the network? So you have to have all those parts or take into consideration so that actions performed in the evidence, or who handles the evidence, will be able to provide traceability. And also we have to store this evidence in a safe manner so that integrity is preserved. So second part, understand requirements for investigation types. So we have different we have different investigation types. So you have administrative investigations, criminal investigations, civil investigations, industry standards. So if you are into digital forensics, you have to understand that investigation depends on the type of incidents. So how to investigate? So in digital forensics, one must also resort to tools that we can use. So we can either have the logging tools, the intrusion detection tools. So we can discuss that in the next parts. But of course, in the conduct of logging and monitoring activities, of course, we should be able to document, or we should have a visibility tool to say whether if our computer networks are compromised, if there are any suspected anomalies in our network, if there are malwares propagating in our devices. So this can be done through the employment or the implementation of security information and event management. So this provides logging and monitoring activities wherein computer science or information security professional can refer to. Of course, we have also a continuous monitoring where we can have an inventory of our assets. We can audit our devices and infrastructure. We have the continuous reporting and alerting if, for example, the thresholds are breached. So I remember when I was working for a BPO, so we've written scripts, monitoring scripts to automatically log and have alerts or file a ticket automatically if certain thresholds are breached in our system. So your DevOps can do that. And of course, security provision of resources. Of course, we have to equip our assets or our ICT resources. We have to account them in an asset inventory. So if our organization employs asset inventory, you could see our laptops have QR codes or barcodes in them to have traceability to the asset. So even our computer mouse have asset tagging so that our organization can keep track of it. Of course, we should also provision resources to change management. So I remember when we're deploying some changes in our integration platform. So every change has to be properly documented. So if we introduce a change in our platform or in our system, we have to document this into a RFC. It's a request for change. So in the request for change, there's delineation of duties. What are the change logs of this of the changes to be implemented in the system? What are the intricate details? And of course, what are the configuration needed, who are the personnel involved, and if there are other units you have to work with, it has to be properly documented. And of course, the implementation plan has to be strictly followed. If you are required to deploy first in your dev environment, then you must do so. You should not bypass the proper process of deploying it straight to the production environment. So if of course you should try it first in a pre-production environment, whether the change is effective or does not pose any operations risk. So the last thing we would want to happen is the change that we implemented is erroneous as an effect. Information of our clients are leaked. So that's a red flag, especially in the BPO, where trust is the most important. Trust of our clients is the most important thing because it spells business for them. Okay. So next slide. So understand and apply foundational security operations concepts. So of course, we should apply access controls commensurate to the jobs and roles of a person. For example, if I'm a driver of the organization, do I need to have access to my email? Do I need to have access or full access to the database? So it's obviously no, right? So, but if you're the database admin, so you might need full access to the database. So you have CRUD, you can create, read, delete, privilege. But of course, again, it's based on your role in the organization or in your duties and responsibilities. So it must be separated or delineated among the employees or the functional teams. So you must it has the privilege account management is also encouraged to as a best practice for this. So it's more of the providing only the necessary privileges to perform one's assigned task. So can be either permission or a right. So the least privilege is when it's provided that it is the minimum sufficient enough to perform your role. So job rotation, of course, it's a good practice also that we practiced before I joined the government. I remember I have a teammate. We rotate jobs to in our integration platform. So for this week, I'm the tier 3 support. So for in the next week, my teammate will take that role. So it's also helpful to have check and balances to the platform. And information lifecycle. So this is related to somehow to the personal data lifecycle, which Attorney Amor has discussed a while ago. So how information is processed in your system or in your operations. And of course, you have to apply security concepts or in the service level agreement. This is important if you outsource functions or services to third-party vendors or service providers. Of course, service level agreements, I remember the data sharing agreement I was listening to a while ago. So this is a type of contract. This is also a type of contract. So it's a set of set of parameters that another party has to comply with. So if I say in my SLA that you as service provider, you provide me with 99.1% availability of your service to me, or you should have X minutes of mean time to restore the service if something goes on. Example, if I'm a cloud service Attorney Amor is the cloud service provider, and of course, my business is highly dependent on its infrastructure. We have web apps hosted in the cloud. So if of course the cloud service provider had a problem and the availability of the system impacts my business, of course, the SLA should be strictly observed that you must provide backups, or you must be able to restore access to our platform, or else, of course, it can ruin our operations. And next is to apply resource protection techniques. So hardware and software and asset management. A while ago, I have discussed the importance of managing the assets, through asset inventory. But on this part, so you have to manage the hardware and firmware. So you have to document properly what are the current versions. So do you need to upgrade your hardware? Is the firmware installed prone to a common vulnerability and exploit, or a zero-day exploit? So do you need to update the firmware? And if not, you should be able to manage your risk, justifying not to upgrade the firmware. You should also have your systems properly configured and provide proper auditability, so that audit trails can provide history and traceability to the data or to the system. Storage systems and media must also be properly managed. Of course, storage systems and media house or the data at rest resides there. So you should be properly configuring full disk encryption, for example. And of course, operating systems and applications, you should be able to protect your operating systems installed in your computers, the web applications you have deployed. So have to properly continuously protect those. And next, of course, if you have protected your resources, we cannot control security incidents. So we have to manage incidents. So as the name suggests, conduct incident management. So we have several stages for managing security incidents. So in the CISSP security operations domain, we have proactiveness, detection, response, mitigation, reporting, recovery, remediation, and lessons learned. So the topic I remember is more on breach, detect, recover. But this the CISSP has provided a lot of stages, more than our topic. So proactiveness refers to the security incident management formed by identifying, analyzing, and reviewing the current or future risks or threats, forming an incident management. So usually if we conduct a privacy impact assessment, or a vulnerability assessment, or a penetration test on a regular basis, or on our own initiative, so this can be considered as a proactive approach in security incident management. So detection. So this usually is the first phase of the incident management life cycle. So if there's an alert or a report generated by your SOC infrastructure, like an intrusion detection system, a firewall, or your antivirus system. So uh, you, this can be started if hardware, software, or a sensor has tripped or has breached the threshold or has detected something in real time. It's great if it detected real time, but of course, if it did not detect anything, but uh, it's, it has gained access to our infrastructure, that could pose a problem. So next is to respond. Of course, if we detected the problem, the responsible team or the individual, or the CERT or the CSERT, must be start verifying the incident. So it can be, of course, detection can be a false alarm, right? So that this process is vital. So sabi nga nila, di ba, minsan magpapadala sa fake news, but we should also, the CERT must be also highly trained to properly assert this one. So next is after detection response, we have to mitigate. So if a threat has already penetrated our system, so we should be able to isolate and prevent the prevalence. For example, if a hacker has gained access to our network, and the team has detected and respond to it, they determine the current capabilities and the current access where the hacker is. They should be able to contain or isolate the threat. So for example, the infected computer can be disconnected from the network, for example. And of course, after that mitigation, we should also report. So reporting, we have to, of course, report internally within the organization. We have to report in the CERT or the CSERT. We have to report with the top management. Later, we'll discuss the regulatory provisions, but we should be also able to report to our data subjects, and the National Privacy Commission should be able to report with the BSP. If you're if you are a bank or non-bank financial institution, you should be able to report to the NCERT of the DICT. So next is recovery. If your computer data or your data has been compromised, so you should be able to recover your data. For example, if a computer in your organization or in your network has been infected by a ransomware, so a ransomware is a type of threat wherein they lock your files, they encrypt it. So in order to unlock your files, you will be needing a key. So ransomware, as the name suggests, it's your data for a ransom. You have to pay to get that key. And in order to get that key to unlock back your data, it's either you pay an expensive amount of cryptocurrency to the perpetrators, or you have no you have no deep resources to fund that, and you just pray that you have a recent backup of your data. So if you have a backup of your data, then that's good. You should just restore it. So you forget about the locked data infected with ransomware. You disconnect your computer, you reblast you you reformat your system and just restore it. So this is a case to case basis. So depending on the data that was, or the nature of the data that was compromised. Of course, I touched that remediation part, but of course, in the when we remediate, we should be able to rebuild back our existing systems to business as usual. So uh, once that has been remedied, we should be able to document what are the lessons learned from the incident, so that, of course, when we don't, of course, in a theoretical perspective, if we don't learn our lessons, our mistakes will be bound to happen again and again until magtanda tayo, di ba, sa Tagalog. And next is to operate, maintain, and detective and preventative measures. So these are some of the hardware or software appliance that can aid to operate and maintain security incidents. So we have firewalls, which can block or allow connections or requests. We have the intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems. We can also have third-party managed security services. We can also employ sandboxing, a safe environment where we can test or run our applications. We can also employ honeypots where we have to interface our resources, so that we can also, of course, we can also fool our adversaries into thinking that's our real system, where in fact it's not. We can have also anti-malware or endpoint protection. So next slide is to, of course, we have to implement and support patch and vulnerability management. So our systems may be out of date. We have this so-called zero-day exploits. For example, if a zero-day exploit is found, for example, a Google Chrome browser, then a zero-day exploit meaning there's there's a vulnerability in the Google Chrome browser that when a hacker exploits it, he or she can gain access to the data in your browser, for example. Then you have to patch your Google Chrome browser to the latest version, so that that zero-day exploit is prevented. So that's one of the importance of the patch management. And of course, vulnerability management, it's the overall management of your systems in terms of their security or resilience against against security incident attacks. Our website, uh, we should be able to conduct a vulnerability assessment and penetration test whether our website can be exploited. Of course, what will be the repercussion if our website can be exploited? Of course, maybe if there's a database residing in our website, they can gain access to it. Our client's data may be compromised. Next is to understand and participate in change management process. So a while ago, I've I've skipped. So but I discussed the change management process. So I shared a while ago my experience in the in the private sector where we manage where we manage and implement change whenever we deploy updates or new features in our platform. So there's of course this should be properly documented. So identify, design, so review, change request, necessary approvals by the top management, approving this change request. So you should not, in summary, should not be able to introduce changes on a whim, or just because you want to, you can do it. It should also be properly documented, and of course necessary approvals before implementation or deployment, before it takes effect. And I mentioned a while ago the importance of implementation of recovery strategies. So how to implement recovery strategies? So of course you have to have your storage media for it. You may have your network drives, you may have your hard drives, you have recovery site strategies. You have to, I remember business continuity management is is of primary importance to Accenture before, where I worked. So in our email signature they put be ahead, plan ahead. Think BCM, so business continuity management. So it just means that the organization has top management buy-in to continue business in case of security incidents or in case of disaster. So I remember when we have multiple sites in Accenture back then. So I'm based in Mandaluyong, and we have a modest or a humble project that time. So we have a recovery site in McKinley. So we if a disaster has occurred, or for example acts of God like flood in flood our building is flooded, or our device has been compromised, we should be able to recover from our from McKinley. So we have simulated our disaster recovery from time and time again. Of course, the system must be resilient, must be available at all times to prevent disruption of services. Quality of service must be there, and it must be fault tolerant. Of course, all of this, if you implement disaster recovery processes, so it must not be only on paper, but you should try to simulate it. How how do you respond to disaster recovery? How do you do it? Who are the personnel involved? Sino yung nasa off-site? Sino yung nasa on-site? Sino yung nasa site A? Sino yung nasa site B? How do you communicate? Ano yung protocols for disaster recovery processes? How do you assess kung i-commit niya yung changes sa disaster recovery, o or paano niyo didiskartehan kung i-roll back niyo na ba yung recovery process. So kailangan may training and awareness po dito. Ayun, so test disaster recovery plans. So it can be a tabletop exercise, it can be a walkthrough, pwedeng simulation, role-playing. I remember nung back in 2017, we conducted a role-playing with nakagrupo ko nun si DSP pati si DOJ. So nag disaster recovery simulation. We took roles on how to on ano yung mga gagawin namin pag if we are given this scenario. So we can also simulate a parallel recovery, backup and recovery plan, or if fully na-interrupt yung, kunwari yung site A, fully na-interrupt. So, try namin sa site B kung fully namin mare-replicate yung business operations namin. Then if true na simulate nga namin business operations namin sa site B, then our disaster recovery plans is successful. Next is participate in business continuity planning exercise. Of course, this is the business continuity management planning and exercise is the bigger piece of the pie. So components niyan yung sinabi ko kanina, yung disaster recovery, yung how do you communicate. Of course, business impact analysis, kung may outage yung ganitong yung ganitong systems natin, ano yung quantifiable impact nun sa ating project or sa organization or sa kumpanya mismo. So, syempre mas mapaparealize po natin yan sa ating top management kung may kung may peso or may dollars involved na yan. So, joke lang yan. No? So, next is implement and manage physical security. We should also have physical security in place before, of course, in our premises, in our operations, in our offices. We should be able to permit entry only to those people who are authorized to enter our premises. For example, in our data center, do we allow visitors to enter to physically enter in our data center? Of course not. So we should have our badge or electronic locks or authorized badge IDs in order for select personnel only to access that facility. Of course, internal security, we should also have our security policies in place on what are allowed, what are permissible, and what's prohibited. And of course, we should be able to address personal safety and security concerns. So, how employees travel when it comes to security. Of course, example, this pandemic, we should be able to provide them with security training and awareness. Of course, they are our assets. They handle our day-to-day task. Of course, emergency management. So this is important. I remember when we conduct, if example in our company, if we do our fire drills, then we should also conduct our breach drills. So if in our fire drills, we have our fire marshals, we have our set of procedures that we can follow. Of course, number one rule is don't panic. We should lock, cover, and hold. So it should be replicated in our breach management. So we have to have proper policies and procedures for that one. So we have to, of course, in the last this is duress. So duress is a special situation where a person is forced or coerced to disclose or force an act against his or her will. For example, social engineering or threatening or hostage. So then wala nang choice si person or si employee to give the data or something. So you have to consider also that one, the safety nila and paano yung protocols if mangyari nga yun. Ayun, so we're finished with the security operations. Domain 7. So that's a comprehensive one. But of course, I would also like to present the ISO/IEC 27035 Principles of Incident Management. So time check. My time is 11:31. So pasadahan na lang natin. Mabilis na lang po to. So bear with me. So these ISO standards provide the principles of incident management. So a while ago we provided the different steps and necessary procedures on how do we to respond to security incidents, from evidence collection. So this one also provides the same. So this is available po in our DTI website, Philippine National Standard. So ayun nga, so this international standard provides a structured and planned approach to detect, report, and assess security incident, response to security incident, manage information security vulnerabilities, and continuously improve. No? So halos parehas ng framework doon sa kanina sa DPPMS natin, no? May continuous improvement sa dulo lagi. So sa ISO standard po na 27035-1, so we have 5 major parts. So plan and prepare, detection and reporting, assessment and decision, responses, and lessons learned. Di ba? Familiar po, di ba? So we have the CISSP security operations before this, and dito pa lang, we can conclude na halos parehas sila ng framework. So ito yung pinaka-framework of the ng ISO standard. So of course, plan and prepare. So kailangan may yung sa first step mo na plan and prepare, katulad ng kanina sa security operations, kailangan may security incident policy muna and plan. So halos pare-parehas lang yan. May risk management na kailangan. May kailangan ma-establish and equip yung CERT or yung incident response team. May kailangan sa collection ng evidence, sa preservation ng evidence, kailangan properly documented. May proper training sa taong sa mga CERT or sa mga incident response team. And of course, kailangan may pagtetest sa ating security ng information. Tapos detection and reporting. Of course, once we detect paano ba tayo makakapag-detect? So review na lang ng kanina. Dapat may monitoring and logging system tayo. Siyempre may iba't iba pa tayong hardware and tools or software that can aid us to detect, no, and report. No? Once we detect and report, we should ensure that digital evidence is gathered and stored securely. Yung chain of custody kanina, dapat properly ma-observe. And para sa integrity and usability of the evidence, sa RA 10175, it provides the legal basis on how to preserve computer data sa cybercrimes. No? Yung RA 10175 is the Cybercrime Act of 2012. Ano po yan? Kapatid po ng RA 10173. And of course, escalate on as needed basis. Hindi pwedeng kailangan may reporting responding protocols dyan. Hindi pwedeng report lang kaagad lahat sa top management. Next, assessment and decision. Of course, once na detect and report na yung security incidents, siyempre malalaman na ng kinauukulan kapag we can conduct risk management. So we can conduct VAPT, we can conduct privacy impact assessment, we can conduct other we can inspect other security activities, no, to try and contain yung security incident. And of course, we should be able to respond to the incident by the so, depende yan. Commensurate yung response natin sa incident classification scale rating. So, before, pag may incident kami na level 0 or P0 ticket na final sa amin, ay dapat urgent yan. Drop everything ka dyan. Dapat full attention ka. Kailangan as soon as ASAP ma-respondan or ma-restore yung yung system, no? Of course, should assign or if you review the CERT or the incident response team must be able to determine whether under control na ba yung incident, and if not, kailangan determine yung required response, and able to assign internal resources kung kailangan ng iba pang team, kailangan tumawag ng third-party managed services, then do so. No? So escalate as needed pa rin. And of course, lessons learned, you should be able to review and identify and document properly yung buong security incident, no? So we have sa NPC yung baseline standards, yung dapat nilalaman ng documentation natin when it comes to security incidents or personal data breaches. And lastly, policies. We have 3 PH government directives that will be tackling. So we have the BSP Circular 982, the DICT MC 006, and the NPC MC 1601. So I understand hindi naman po tayo bangko, hindi naman po tayo hindi naman tayo bank or financial institution. So maaaring di mag-apply sa atin to, but they provide a good circular sa to the 982. Sa section 4.1.1, may security operation center doon, and sa previous section noon may nag-provide din sila ng to security incident management. So nada-download po ito sa website nila. So we can access po yung dun sa security incident management na part. But basically, halos the same na sinasabi doon sa security operations na diniscuss natin kanina sa ISO 27035-1 na principles, halos the same, no? Kaya hindi ko na dinetail kasi magiging redundant na, and nag-focus na lang ako sa security operations center na section or na subsection na provide nila. So according to the BSP Circular 982, so Security Operations Center provide or is a facility nga that houses yung kaya nila minandato ito sa sa bank and financial institution. Of course, they acknowledge that the cyber threat is growing. So there should be a need to centralize visibility, continuous monitoring, and rapid response sa mga security incidents. So, 'di ba, ngayong pandemic, ang dami ng phishing, no? Kasi syempre, naging work from home tayo. Syempre, yung mga threat actors naging work from home na rin. Imbis na nasa daan sila, uy, paano kaya makakapagnakaw ng pera sa online? Joke lang yan. But of course, totoo. It has some truth to it, di ba? So, inano nila to. Linay down nila to. So yung SOC nila, yung SOC, minandato nila that the SOC must have defined processes, reporting protocols, procedures, response, documentation, no? And of course, it must be manned by highly trained personnel. No? So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 responders, no? So by tier yan. So first layer, frontlines usually yan. Yung dati kong work sa Accenture, tier 3 responder ako. So doon ako sa conducting deep dive analysis and investigation. So usually tinitignan namin yung audit trail, yung workflow, yung yung process flow, no? And of course, the SOC's major functions, sabi daw sa sa BSP section 4.1.1, major function daw na SOC is to detect, respond, and recover, which highly resonates sa topic nga natin. And of course, they acknowledge that hindi lahat ng banks or ng financial service institution are pantay-pantay. Yung BPI, di mo mako-compare yan sa kunwari sa Porac Rural Bank, di ba? Ano yan? Parang David and Goliath yan. Siyempre. So depende yan sa complexity or sa dami ng clients, no? Complexity ng business, kung high risk yan, konti ba. So you can outsource it, no, to a third-party service provider, no? Or if kung in-outsource yung security operation center nyo, or kunwari bumili nga kayo or nag-procure kayo ng cloud service provider para sa platforms nyo, no, mga as a service, no, i-ensure nyo lang na may adequate oversight at control pa rin kayo sa platform at sa data, no. So pwedeng doon nga yan sa data sharing agreements, pwedeng dyan yan sa SLA, yung service level agreements, no. So doon yun makokontrol. Pwedeng audits din, ganyan. So next is yung DICT-MC 006. Ano ba yung sinasabi dito sa DICT-MC 006? So dapat yung lahat ng government agencies at instrumentalities may CERT. So kaya ako dinefine po yung CERT kanina. We define CERT because of course we have this requirement to establish our own computer emergency response teams in our organization to handle security incident management, no? So the establishment of a CERT sa government agencies is called also a GCERT. GCERT should collaborate local linkages for sharing of information. So may collaboration yan. Next provision is security and privacy of personal data, of course, and sharing of personal data involving government agencies na discuss po ni Attorney Amar kanina. So yan po yung involvement namin. The agency and other organization head shall act as organization cybersecurity officer. So kung kanina, a while ago, Attorney Amor discussed the mandatory designation of a data protection officer. In here, the DICT-MC says that the head of the organization is the cybersecurity officer. So they can work hand in hand with the DPO to protect information and our infrastructure. Of course, all this must be subject to a monitoring and evaluation system if they are compliant to the National Cybersecurity Plan 2022 in CSP. So 2021 na ngayon, so we have 1 year to comply with the NCSP 2022. And of course, the last provision, important provision, is that CISOs shall create an organization headed by a chairman to be elected among member agencies, and the chairman shall then report to the DICT on a periodic basis. An annual conference shall be held for all CISOs for collaboration and information sharing. So ecosystem to. So katulad ng we also have the approach in the NPC where we implemented a data privacy council. So we have convened DPOs for the purposes of information sharing. So we can share data privacy best practices amongst each other, because also we recognize that as a government, pare-pares po tayong government, we can only do so much, and usually yung private sector yung front runner or yung trailblazer sa actually nga mas advanced na yung capability nila sa government. So I must humbly admit that one. So we need each other's help, no? Kaya may ganitong provision sa DICT MC, and sa amin din sinusundan din namin itong ganitong practice. And lastly, so ito na po yung second to the last slide. So we have the NPC Circular 16-03, which provides a personal data breach management. So this is also the NPC Circular responsible to lay out security incident management policies, lay out security incident response teams, which we have adequately discussed today. So I mentioned a while ago that we have to report. So what is subject to the notification requirements or the reporting requirements? If we in the organization have a security breach that involves sensitive personal information or any information when used together can be used to enable identity fraud, there's a reason to believe that information have been acquired by unauthorized persons or unauthorized acquisition shall or may likely give risk of serious harm. So all of these three elements must be present. So these are just one element must not be missing. So all three must be present so that you should report to the NPC. So who should notify? So the personal information controller should notify. So we have this setup wherein a personal information controller outsources some of its operation to a third party. So the responsibility to report and notify should fall to the personal information controller pa rin, regardless of the setup of if in-outsource niya. So if it outsourced to another third party, so the third party must be able to report to the personal information controller, and the personal information controller in turn should be reporting to the NPC and to the data subjects. So when should notification or reporting be done? So concealment of a breach is a crime. So para ka nagtago ng krimen, di mo rin-report sa otoridad. So parang ganun lang din to. So within 72 hours from knowledge of the personal data breach, based on available information, kailangan may initial reporting na. So kung may initial reporting na, dapat ideally within 5 days, you should be able to provide a full report. But of course, this can be a base-to-base cases to other actually baliktad, case-to-case basis pala, base-to-base cases. So ano pala, ayun, pwedeng a personal information controller can require or can request to the NPC to extend the 5 days deadline. So kunwari may kailangan pa mag-investigate ng personal information controller, syempre kunwari marami siyang in-outsource or complex talaga yung business processes niya, marami siyang kinakausap na third-party providers, and yung third-party providers also need time. Of course, may ganong consideration, kailangan i-subject to approval sa NPC. But usually, pag naintindihan naman ng NPC na providean siya ng sufficient details, they provide that green light. So when should data subjects be notified? So same, within 72 hours, that's the magic number, 72 hours, from knowledge of the personal data breach. Unless there is a reason to postpone, yun nga, or kung magre-require ng extension, subject to the approval of the NPC. So because we have this penal provision in the Data Privacy Act that concealment of a breach is a punishable crime. So I forgot at maybe Attorney Amor can provide the exact figures and the jail time, but I'm sure millions yun, saka years yung jail time. So concealment of breach. So in closing, I would like to close this our session this morning that the adage of President Theodore Roosevelt saying, risk is like a fire. If controlled, it will help you. If uncontrolled, it will rise up and destroy you. So I usually associate security incident management with fire. Sabi nga nila, di ba, yung manakawan ka na, wag ka lang masunugan, di ba? Because sometimes fire cannot be, it's at least when we expect it, we should be able to have protocols on how to respond. No? So, wag magpapanik. No? So, hopefully, in this session, I have provided some insights on how to manage security incidents in lieu with the Security Operations Center. And thank you for listening. For questions, feedback, of course, we have this Zoom session. And for any questions na kinapos tayo sa oras or hindi po namin masagot, we have this our email, info@privacy.gov.ph, our website. We also have our official Facebook accounts, Twitter account, our YouTube channel where you can watch pre-recorded events or past events. Of course, we also have our physical office if you want to exercise your data subjects rights. And of course, we have our telephone. So, thank you po sa pakikinig. I hope hindi po kayo nakatulong sa aking speech. So, ayun po. I now give the floor back to our host, the DICT po.
All right. Okay. All right. So thank you so much po, Sir Johnson. So at this part po, we will entertain some questions po from our participants. We will flash some questions po.
Okay, I'll stop sharing then.
Sige po. So we'll just wait po na ma-flash yung questions. So let's have our open forum. So for our first question, so here's the question po, where can we look for examples of data privacy impact assessment, data privacy risk management, data privacy and protection management system?
Hi. So we have examples of data privacy impact assessment. We have it in our website, in our NPC. So we have the so-called toolkits for this one. So the toolkits have a section there providing templates for privacy impact assessment. So you can freely download it in our website. So just go to privacy.gov.ph and I'm sure you can find your way through our toolkit. So or pwede you can use the shortcut to Google it to Google privacy toolkit tapos privacy toolkit NPC or privacy toolkit privacy.gov.ph or use the combination of those search strings.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So here's another question po. What are the roles of NPC in data management of PLCs?
So, Attorney Amor, ako ulit yung di naman sa pabida ako pero kasi I remember kasi in the PhilSys when it's just starting, I was part of the working group. I was part of the learning exchange in the when we studied the national ID, our PhilSys. So kasama po natin diyan sila Sec Carl Chua, which is the Secretary of NEDA ngayon. Kasama po natin si DICT Undersecretary Dennis Villorente, and USEC NEDA USEC Edilion, Rosemary Edilion. So Kasama din po natin si DBM Yusek Lilia Guillermo. So, sa amin, through Commissioner Raymond Liboro, so we have actively participated in the in the development of PhilSys. So, ano yung role ng NPC? Of course, in the law, in the formation of the law in the IRR, we intervened, we injected privacy provisions doon because we understand that our national ID can be used to enable identity fraud, and the complexity of its business use cases and operations may also entail not only cybersecurity risk but data privacy risk. So we ensure that privacy is baked in sa batas, sa ano nila, sa privacy impact assessment, sa mga policies and procedures ng PhilSys. Katuwang po natin yung PSA dyan. In fairness to PSA, they are proactive in reaching out po sa ating DICT and NPC family po.
Thank you so much, sir. So another question po. So, can the election registration board or election officer release docs providing residency attached to voter registration application to a requesting oppositor? An oppositor seeks to raise objection to the voter registration application of a person. Docs proving residency may include sensitive personal information. So medyo unstable daw po yung internet connection ni Attorney Amor.
Hello.
Ayan po.
Can you hear me?
Yes po. Yes po, naririnig po namin kayo.
Ayun. For yung question na to na nasagot na rin naman dito sa Q&A box. But for the sake of everyone, yung election, unless there is a subpoena na ipe-present nung nanghihingi nung documents, then I think it would be prudent not to give, because if the goal or the objective is only to prove the residency of the person, well, you can attach other proof naman. Or if you are only going to prove or disprove the residency of the person, then there are other means to, or there are other pieces of evidence that can prove or disprove the residency of that person. So it's not only the documents with COMELEC, but also there are, for example, there would be the barangay or the barangay certification that can prove the residency. So if unless, again, there is a subpoena, then better that you don't give out that information or that document.
Okay, so thank you po, Attorney. We still have 3 more questions po. Next is, one government institution is requiring us to submit a list of our trained employees. We are from private company. Is it okay if we ask them to sign the DSA first?
Yeah, Hi. Yes, it would be prudent for you to ask the government institution to sign the DSA first before giving out the information, because at least you have proof that they agree to they are aware of their responsibilities and that they agree to these responsibilities over the personal data that you would be handing out to them. So if anything happens, at least covered na kayo when you hand out when you give them the personal data of your employees already.
So next question. We still have 2 more questions. Last na po pala ito. So here's our last question po. Hi, is it okay to get the IP address or track the geolocation of the user who access the system for security purpose even though walang message or prompt na lumalabas sa kanila na access ko yung location nila?
Hi, Attorney Amar. So I'll be giving my input. So I believe in the course of an investigation or the security on the wake of a security incident, these information are necessary to as preservation. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na 'di ba po sa RA 10175 may preservation of computer data. So pwedeng isa sa mga logs diyan yung IP address or yung geolocation of the perpetrator. So the DPA does not prevent or is not in crosshairs with the RA 10175 but will be supportive of it. So it should be able to support this one. So but this does not give a blanket exception. So it's always subject to the data privacy principles of the DPA. So as long as the proper parties lang yung may access dun sa data, and of course kung hindi na, especially if hindi naman siya uniquely nag-identify sa isang person only, then that is exempted po sa DPA. Kasi for example, if I only have the IP address and the geolocation, would that uniquely identify a person? So tanong ko po sa inyo. So example ako, meron akong public IP address na ganito. But hindi naman nakapangalan sa akin. Tapos meron din ganitong geolocation. So pwedeng halimbawa sa bahay namin, di ba? Kami ng mag-anak ko dito, we share the same IP address. So uniquely identify ba ako? Pwedeng yung kapatid ko yon, pwedeng yung kapitbahay na nakikishare ng wifi ko yon. So mga ganong bagay. So I think this can be okay. This should be okay. Of course, in the especially pag may investigation na or may security incident.
All right, thank you so much po, Attorney Amor and Sir Johnson. That would be our last question. So most of our participants po are expressing their words of gratitude. Maraming salamat po for a very informative and clear presentations po. So thank you so much. Tapos meron pa dito, thank you for the excellent training. Stay safe everyone. So yun. And now we will proceed po. We will award your certificate of appreciation coming from the DICT Mindanao Cluster 1. So we will flash po your certificates. So first, allow me first to read the citation. Republic of the Philippines, Department of Information and Communications Technology. Certificate of appreciation is hereby presented to Attorney Amor G. Venenoso for sharing her insights and expertise as a resource person during the data privacy and protection training with the topic Data Privacy Management System on June 3, 2021 via Zoom video communications, given this 3rd day of June 2021, signed by our Regional Director of DICT Mindanao Cluster 1, Maria Teresa M. Tamba. Thank you so much po, Attorney Amor. Okay, and next, certificate of appreciation is hereby presented to Mr. Johnson C. S. Guerra for sharing his insights and expertise as a resource speaker during the Data Privacy and Protection Training with the topic Security Operations Center of Security Breach Identification, Prevention, Detection, Response, and Recovery and Investigation on June 3, 2021 via Zoom video communication, given this third day of June 2021, signed by our Regional Director, Maria Teresa M. Camba. Thank you so much, Sir Jansen. Okay, this time to raffle. All right. So for this time po, we will have a raffle draw for our participants po, no? So you will have a chance to win a 100 pesos worth of load card sa ating mga participants. Then later, we will have our closing remarks and photo of deal. So this time, we will have a raffle muna. Yan. So, all right. So the winners ay mananalo ng 100 pesos load card. We will have 5 winners for this raffle draw po. So let's spin the wheel. Congratulations po, Miss Presi L. Lagidaw. Yes, congratulations po. Next winner. Congratulations, Mr. Jafer A. Barce. Yes, Mr. Jafer A. Barce. Congratulations. We have 3 more. Maria Jesusa Gonzalez. Congratulations po. Nanalo kayo ng 100 pesos load card. Next winner. Miss Trisha Frill Estosata. Congratulations. And the last winner of load card is congratulations, Mr. John Arnel Satrillo. And that's it po. So we will email po yung mga load card, yung pin ng mga load card prices nyo po. So congratulations. So at this part, we will now have the closing part of our program. So we will have the closing remarks. So to deliver his closing remarks, I would like to call the provincial officer of the Buanga City of DICT MC1, as well as the focal of ILCDB of DICT MC1, Mr. Rodrigo Macansantos. Sir, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Rats, and good morning also to our resource speakers. Okay, no? So maganda talaga yung mga presentations. Saka I believe many really comprehended the training that we have. So to end, no? As we know very much that a lot of transactions we make nowadays are online, and being knowledgeable on Data Privacy Act of 2012, we are confident that our data are risk mitigated, secured, and protected. So with NPC, or the National Privacy Commission, is there implementing such acts so we can be comfortable. So we can come, we have now have come to an end with our 2-day training on data privacy and protection. So this training is one of the highlights of the series of activities we have here in the ICT Mindanao Cluster 1 on the celebration of June as the National ICT Month. And being so, it is indeed our pleasure to impart this knowledge through the conduct of this virtual training that is guided by the legal basis or the DPA of 2012. So with the learning you gained from this, I know many questions behind your mind are cleared as it was addressed by the competent resource persons from the National Privacy Commission. On behalf of our beloved Director, Maria Teresa Campa, ARD Paulette, and Chief of Technical Operations Division, Mr. Jacob Muhammad, and the entire ICT Literacy and Competency Development team, I would like to thank you. I would like to thank our resource speakers from the National Privacy Commission, the persons of Attorney Ivy Grace Villas Soto, Attorney Vida Zora Bokar, Attorney Amor Venenoso, and Sir Johnson Esquera. And of course, not to forget Commissioner Raymond Deboro for allowing his team to be with us. And to all the participants in the Zoom room and FB page where we are live stream, thank you so much. And looking forward to be serving you with more virtual trainings for our personal development and professional growth. So I have here a word from Muhammad Tahir Ulpadri. Says that if knowledge is not put into practice, it is not benefit one. So again, thank you very much and keep safe, everyone. Thank you. Now back to you, Raj.
All right. So thank you so much, Sir Rod. And now let's have our photo op together with our resource speakers po. And as well, we would also like to request the ICT officials and staff who are here with us to please join the photo op. Or in the Zoom, currently in the Zoom room, you might turn on po your camera. So, okay. Sige po. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay. Another one. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, isa pa daw po. Last one. One, two, three, smile. All right. Thank you so much po for your time, Ma'am Amor, Sonia Amor, and Sir Johnson. Thank you po. Once again, thank you so much. All right. So naka-flash na po ang aming na-chat na po namin ang evaluation link for this webinar. So please accomplish the evaluation form po. It will be open until 3 p.m. Until 3 p.m. po open ang ating webinar, ang ating evaluation form sa ating for this webinar. So please accomplish po the evaluation form before 3 p.m. All right. So once again, we are reminding everyone na hanggang 3 p.m. lang po ang ating open ang ating evaluation link. Please accomplish it po. Both for our Zoom and Facebook participants. And of course, we are also encouraging everyone to please subscribe to our official YouTube channel, the ICT Mindanao Cluster 1. Please subscribe po sa aming official YouTube channel and like and follow our official Facebook page, DICT Mindanao Cluster 1. To know more po about the upcoming events and activities of DICT MC1 during the ICT month, you may visit our official Facebook page po for you to be updated sa mga upcoming events namin. So thank you for joining us today's session on data privacy and protection training together with our resource speakers coming from the National Privacy Commission. So once again, I am Raj. Thank you for joining the ICT Mindanao Cluster 1 for this virtual event. Together, let us connect, innovate, let us connect, harness, innovate, and protect. Tiyanek Widao.